Number 1.
So, Mrs. Rowlands, has the medicine I prescribed for your back pain last month made a difference?
Honestly, Doctor, I've been reluctant to even try it.
Why?
I read online that it can cause sleeplessness and irritability. I have so much trouble with insomnia that I'd rather put up with back pain than risk aggravating the problem.
Well, I've prescribed that medication to many patients, and none of them has ever experienced problems.
I'd still feel better if you could give me something else.
Question. Why did Mrs. Rowlands not take the medicine?
Number 2.
Hi, Al. I haven't seen you since you left the company. Have you found another job yet?
Yes, I work for Plexar now. I miss you guys, but I'm much happier there.
Good for you. What makes Plexar so much better besides the products?
That's just it. All my clients know we sell high-quality products, so they trust me. I get far fewer complaints than I did with Media Savvy, and my sales volume's through the roof.
I'll bet. Let me know if they have any openings in marketing, would you?
Sure, Linda, I will.
Question. What can be inferred about the man's previous job?
Number 3.
Mike, have you read this newsletter from Kate's school?
Not yet. Is there anything interesting?
Well, it appears there's a proposal to open a snack shop on the school grounds. I don't like the sound of that.
Sounds convenient. But I know what you're getting at. It's related to the meeting last semester about healthier school meals, right?
Exactly. What's the point of encouraging healthy eating habits if there's a shop selling junk food at school?
Well, we don't know yet what control the school will have over it.
True, but I'm not convinced it'll be much.
Question. What is the woman concerned about?
Number 4.
I'm surprised to see you eating lunch in the cafeteria, Tatsuo.
Yeah, I usually prefer to get away from the office, but I'm preparing for the company's stock exchange listing.
Oh, right. That's pretty exciting. It's going to mean big things for the company. It's scheduled for next year, right?
That was the plan, but listing requirements have become stricter of late. With the global slowdown, it's more difficult to list. I've gotten even busier.
Well, I hope it doesn't take too much out of you.
Question. What does the man say?
Number 5.
I see the for sale sign on the Wilson's house is still there.
That's strange. I thought that place would sell in a flash. It's in a lovely spot.
Well, it's a buyer's market at the moment.
Now you mention it, they said something about that on the news last night.
If the Wilsons are in a hurry, they'll have to rethink their asking price.
That's a shame, though. It looks like pretty good value to me.
Question. Why does the man think the house is still for sale? Number 6.
Leslie, how nice to see you. I didn't know you shopped here.
I just started recently. I'm trying to be more careful about what I eat. The prices are a little steep, though.
True, but you have to be prepared to fork out a bit extra for organic food.
I guess so.
And you get the satisfaction of knowing you're making a contribution to the environment.
It's a tough choice, though. If I don't notice any improvements in my health, I may switch back to my regular place.
Question. What do we learn about the woman?
Number 7.
You're looking kind of stressed, honey. Everything okay?
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out how to adjust our budget to accommodate the new car expenses.
I thought we'd worked out manageable payments.
For the car itself, we did, but insurance costs quite a bit more for a sports car, and it really goes through gas.
It's fun to drive, but if it doesn't make economic sense, we can do without it.
It hasn't come to that just yet. I'm sure we can figure out a way to cut corners elsewhere.
Question. What will the couple probably do?
Number 8.
Hi, Sam. How's the job search going?
I got an offer that I'm considering from a firm in the city. Great salary, but a lot of business trips and a 2-hour-a-day commute, which I'm not sure I can handle.
What does your wife think?
She understands my reluctance, but she'd like to put a dent in our debt and start a college fund for the kids.
The commute sounds tough, but she does have a point.
She sure does. The question is whether it's worth the extra stress and time away.
Question. What is the man's main concern?
Number 9.
Okay, ma'am, you're all set with new tires. But when I was changing them, I found a problem with the brakes.
Really? I haven't noticed anything unusual.
Well, your front brakes are fine, but the problem is with your rear ones. The pads are worn and need to be replaced.
I hadn't planned on that expense. Will they last a couple more months?
Possibly. But you risk causing damage to the brake drums and may end up having to replace them as well.
Well, I certainly don't want to pay even more. If I leave it here today, would you be able to replace the pads?
Unfortunately, I'll have to order the parts.
How soon can you get it done then?
Let's see. The earliest would be next Monday morning. Will that work for you?
Yes, that's fine. How much can I expect all this to cost?
About $300, including labor.
Wow, that's a lot.
We do offer a payment plan, so you can break up the cost into 4 monthly payments.
That would really help me out. Thanks.
Question. What does the woman decide to do?
Number 10.
So, Dan, what do you think of the candidates we've interviewed so far?
I think Philip Johnson could be a good addition to our team.
Mary?
I'm not sure. Philip's still young, which is a plus, I guess, since he can grow with the job.
He also graduated from a good university, and he has some sales experience in our industry. Hopefully that means he'd require less training.
I guess so, but Philip seems too quiet and shy. I have to say, none of the interviewees seemed really outstanding. There's no one who's really wowed me.
I agree. We haven't seen a candidate with a proven track record of boosting sales. We're looking for someone who's proactive, someone who can expand our customer base.
I know it's a lot of work, but personally, I'd rather continue this process in the hopes of finding a candidate who meets all our criteria.
I still think someone like Philip is worth considering.
Look, why don't we keep him as a backup for now? Meanwhile, Dan, can you let our recruiting agencies know the position is still open?
Okay, if you're sure. I'll also let them know that the rest didn't make the grade.
Question. What do the two women think?
A. Electricity and the brain. As we age, our bodies become less nimble. The same thing can also happen to our brains. While occasional bouts of forgetfulness may not be serious, mental decline can be a sign of more severe conditions like dementia or Alzheimer's disease. However, neuroscientist Robert Reinhardt believes electrical stimulation can help. In a controlled study, Reinhardt applied electrical currents to parts of the brain involved in short-term memory, also known as working memory. He found that by using electricity to synchronize brain waves in certain areas, working memory could be significantly improved, and learning ability could also be enhanced. Such results seem promising. Furthermore, using electrical stimulation therapy may not be confined to improving working memory or helping us to become better learners. It is hoped it can also be used to help treat brain disorders, including autism, schizophrenia, and Parkinson's disease. Poor synchronization of brain waves in different areas of the brain is believed to be a factor in such conditions. However, while electrical stimulation to synchronize brain waves proved effective in Reinhardt's study, its viability as a long-term treatment has yet to be determined.
Questions. Number 11. What is one thing Robert Reinhardt's research illustrates? Number 12. What does the speaker suggest about electrical stimulation therapy?
B. Madagascar's biodiversity. Madagascar has one of the highest levels of biodiversity on Earth, with up to 90% of its plants and animals found nowhere else. The island split from other land masses about 80 million years ago, which allowed the flora and fauna there to evolve in isolation. Scientists also believe that significant variations in its landscape contribute to biodiversity. The mountain range running down the middle of the island separates a rainforest on one side from desert-like plains on the other. This combination allowed the development of unique habitats that have encouraged a variety of plant and animal adaptations. Unfortunately, Madagascar's biodiversity is threatened by human activities that are causing climate change. The island's isolation, as well as its terrain, rainfall, and other variables, make it difficult for researchers to predict how different species will respond to alterations in their environment. One method being used by researchers is to study how species on the island reacted to past environmental changes. This could help identify which plants and animals are vulnerable today. A concern with this model, however, is that it involves examining environmental fluctuations which occurred over tens of thousands of years. The human causes of climate change, in contrast, have been occurring for a far shorter period of time.
Questions. Number 13. What is one reason given for Madagascar's biodiversity? Number 14. How are researchers trying to identify Madagascar's vulnerable wildlife?
C. Operation Gunnerside. During World War II, Germany initiated a secret nuclear program with the goal of building an atomic bomb. German scientists, however, faced an obstacle. Their production strategy involved an extremely rare substance known as heavy water, which contains a different form of hydrogen to that of regular water. This difference allows heavy water to slow the movement of neutrons, which is essential for the correct chain reaction required for an atomic explosion to take place. Heavy water was therefore key to the German program's success. Only one facility produced heavy water at the time, a hydroelectric power plant in Norway called Vamork. After Germany occupied Norway, the U.S. and Britain decided to attack Vamork to halt Germany's nuclear progress. However, as the heavy water reactor was in the basement of the building, airstrikes would have failed. Therefore, in a mission known as Operation Gunnerside, a small unit of British-trained Norwegian soldiers was sent to destroy the reactor with explosives. The soldiers obtained detailed information about the building's layout, enabling them to sneak in, set the explosives, and escape. Operation Gunnerside was one of the most important steps towards stopping Germany's wartime nuclear program.
Questions. Number 15. What is one thing we learn about heavy water? Number 16. Why was Operation Gunnerside necessary?
D. The world's first computer? In 1901, divers near the Greek island of Antikythera discovered an ancient Roman shipwreck full of artifacts, including a shoebox-sized bronze mechanism in a wooden case. The mechanism was largely ignored until the mid-20th century, when science historian Derek de Sala Price began to study it. In the early 1970s, he had X-ray and gamma-ray images of the mechanism taken. After analyzing the results, Price theorized the device was an ancient analog computer constructed around 87 BC. The technology available to him at the time was limited, and the images he took were difficult to interpret conclusively. However, Price believed the mechanism's inscriptions and gear system were designed to track the movements of planets and stars. In the following decades, a mechanical engineer analyzed the inner workings of the mechanism using more advanced imaging technology. According to the engineer, dials on the front and back would have conveyed information about the movements of the sun, the moon, and individual stars. Although no other such ancient device has ever been found, many historians believe the mechanism's complexity means it must have had a predecessor. This theory is supported by 1st century BC writings of the Roman statesman Cicero, which describe similar types of astronomical calculator devices.
Questions. Number 17. What is true of Derek de Sala Price's observations of the mechanism? Number 18. What do Cicero's writings suggest about the mechanism? E. The Chicago Fire. The Chicago Fire of 1871 is one of the most infamous disasters in U.S. history, killing nearly 300 people and leaving 1 in 3 residents homeless. The fire's exact cause is still unknown, but it is believed to have started in a barn in the southwest of the city. Firefighters responded immediately, but they accidentally went to the wrong location. As a result, the fire rapidly spread out of control, intensified by a severe regional drought and the proximity of wooden structures in the city. Thousands of buildings, including the entire downtown business district, were destroyed. Among them was the facility that controlled the city's water supply. This left Chicago helpless, and the blaze burned unchecked for 2 days. Despite the widespread devastation, reconstruction began immediately. Officials introduced stricter fire and building codes, and great progress was made in public health thanks to new infrastructure that reduced water pollution. The reconstruction effort attracted prominent architects, resulting not only in careful replanning of the city center, but also the erection of the world's first skyscraper. The rebuilding also attracted many new residents. The pre-fire population had been approximately 300,000, but by 1890, the city's population had increased to over 1 million.
Questions. Number 19. What is one thing we learn about the Chicago Fire of 1871? Number 20. What is one thing that happened following the fire?
F. You have 10 seconds to read the situation and question number 21.
Despite our commitment to the highest manufacturing standards, we are now looking at undertaking a product recall, which is needed to prevent any possible injuries. I've drawn up a plan to assign roles and spell out exactly what steps are required to carry out such a recall. The priority for senior members of the legal team is to explore any possible lawsuits we could be facing. For junior legal staff, I want you to look into any legal procedures we need to follow for this kind of recall. Then, write up your findings so all of us can quickly and easily understand and review them. You will also all need to thoroughly review the guidelines for making changes to our current contracts, including supplier contracts, but that can come later. As we make progress on these steps, the manufacturing department will need to conduct a thorough review of production standards.
Now mark your answer on your answer sheet.
G. You have 10 seconds to read the situation and question number 22.
It's a good thing you asked about your passport. A lot of travelers assume they can go abroad on any valid passport, but that's not always true. Canada is more lenient than other countries about allowing foreigners in with only a few months remaining on their passport, but I'd still advise you to renew it to be on the safe side. The Japanese consulate downtown is helpful in these situations. You don't have much time, so you should go tomorrow and have your passport renewed right away. Take all necessary documents, a photo, and anything else listed on their website. It usually takes 5 days, but it might be quicker, considering the circumstances. I wouldn't advise purchasing a ticket until you've done that, as you might not be able to reschedule, and you won't get a refund if you cancel.
Now mark your answer on your answer sheet.
H. You have 10 seconds to read the situation and question number 23.
Welcome to Brookton Primary School. On the morning your daughter starts school, you'll receive some permission forms for school outings. You'll be asked to sign and return those within a day or two. We require all students to be fully vaccinated before the first day of the term, and any family doctor can provide the immunizations if they haven't been completed. If they have been completed, written proof of immunization should be submitted. School starts next month, so time is of the essence for those. I understand you're also requesting after-school care. For this, we'll need a letter from your employer stating your work hours and commuting time. We can provide temporary care until 6 p.m. for 2 weeks to give you time to get that letter. Finally, here is a list of our uniform requirements. We have a grace period of 1 week before the uniform is required.
Now mark your answer on your answer sheet.
I. You have 10 seconds to read the situation and question number 24.
Unfortunately, you don't currently qualify for gold membership renewal next year. It is still possible to meet the criteria, however. As a rule, you need to spend a minimum of $4,000 a year on travel through Ezonia or book at least 2 weeks accommodation at qualifying hotels. You've spent about $2,000 in total so far, but trying to reach the minimum would take you beyond the budget you mentioned. Still, I see you've stayed for 10 days at our partner hotels. You've already mentioned you plan to travel during the Christmas holidays, so we can book you something for then if you'd like. Just 4 more nights would do the trick, and that can be done within your budget. For future reference, you might also want to consider obtaining an Ezonia credit card, as you'll save an additional 5% on all flight bookings made through our website.
Now mark your answer on your answer sheet.
J. You have 10 seconds to read the situation and question number 25.
Government regulations have become stricter, and staff at any branch can explain the new procedures. If you're unable to visit a bank branch here in the U.S. personally, you'll need to do everything online. Access your account online and click on the Make a Payment option. Then click on Wire Transfer. To complete the wire transfer form, you'll need a single-use security access code. To get that, you'll need to complete a 2-stage authentication process. So the first thing you have to do is complete the 2 security questions you set up when you originally opened your account. Once you've done that, you need to enter your account password. After those steps are done, you can request the code to be sent to your pre-registered email address. You can then complete the transfer online, but you'll have to re-enter your password for any subsequent transfers.
Now mark your answer on your answer sheet.
This is an interview with Gary Stevens, a jewelry seller in New York.
We have Gary Stevens with us today. Welcome, Gary.
Thank you for having me.
Could you tell us a little bit about what you do?
Well, I run my own business buying and selling jewelry in New York. I sell to private customers as well as other jewelers in the trade. I can help customers order what they like through a catalog, or I can have something custom made for them.
I see. What are some of the issues that customers often face?
When buying something, customers are often tempted by the biggest stones, but this isn't always indicative of the quality of the jewelry as a whole. Likewise, customers are not aware of how valuable a piece of jewelry might be before they attempt to sell it to us. Something that they think is cheap costume jewelry might have diamonds in it, whereas an impressive-looking piece might not be worth much. Sometimes customers return to my store asking to buy back a sentimental piece that they've already sold me. This is possible when I still have the item in question, but in a situation where a gold ring is scrapped, for example, you cannot simply put it back together. Especially in the case of family heirlooms, it's often better to just keep it in the family. As a word of advice to customers, I'll say, before you sell us your jewelry, it's important that you think about this decision carefully.
Is there a benefit to working in a place like New York City?
New York has a large jewelry district, and while this does mean competition for customers, it also allows jewelers to help one another. Someone who, for example, is skilled at resetting stones can do repairs for someone else without that expertise. There are many different companies that work in a wide variety of styles using different metals. And sometimes if we know someone who can meet a customer's needs, we can refer the customer to that person.
Could you tell us about some recent trends in the industry?
Due to the sharp increase in the price of gold and silver, people are increasingly selling their jewelry just for the value of the metal. While this can be an attractive option at first, to me it seems like a short-sighted decision. Fine jewelry is a work of art, just like an expensive painting or a sculpture. But the work of talented jewelers is disappearing forever because people are more interested in making a quick profit. Before someone decides to scrap something, I always ask them to consider it carefully.
Lastly, do you have any words of wisdom for new jewelers or people interested in becoming one?
First of all, it's important to have a lot of background knowledge. By studying gemology or something similar, one can identify the cut and quality of stones used and can tell genuine items from, for example, cut glass made to look like a stone. Precision and attention to detail are also necessary when making jewelry. If you happen to ruin a diamond or expensive stone while cutting and sculpting it, it can be difficult to fix your mistake.
Gary, thank you very much for your time.
It was my pleasure.
Questions. Number 26. What is an issue Gary says many people face when selling their jewelry? Number 27. What does Gary say about selling jewelry for the price of the metal?
Your time is up. Stop writing and wait quietly until the answer sheets have been collected.